it saves time, right? It saves a lot of time. When you have somebody that already have made all the mistakes and have went through it and, and can guide you in the right direction, it saves you a little bit of time figuring things out. Because any questions you have, you can just ask, right? Whereas somebody that doesn't have that mentorship, they have to figure it on their own. The old-fashioned way, you just go in and die 100 times, spend hours and hours and hours in there. And sometimes that can be a frustrating experience too. I think a lot of people that did not enjoy their progging experience ended up stop playing, right? And honestly, the game is it wasn't really designed to be pug friendly. That's why they towards like once these raids started becoming homework and you're doing it every week, the challenging raid became a chore. You know what I mean? That's why they had to nerf it all down to make it so that yes, you're still doing the raid, but it's not as frustrating, right? Like, cause like Vicus, when you have to do it 6 times a week or more, it becomes a chore. It's no longer, you know, it's fun the first 50 times, but by the 500th time, and I kid you not, because I probably easily way over 500 times. Like, it gets to the point where like, you have runs where are super smooth. You have Vicus runs that finish within 20 minutes. And you have Vicus runs that last 4 hours. I have been there, right? And it's during those runs, honestly, that you prog the most, because that's how you learn how to like get hit by everything and get wiped by everything. But at the same time, when you have to do it that many times a week, it starts to get a little bit frustrating. That's why they nerfed down the raids to the point where it's a comfortable homework. It's no longer a challenging, crazy thing. Because the people that are seeking the challenge, they can do hell mode, Inferno, right? There's no need to make the homework version challenging because people are just doing it for gold and gear, right? But when they already have that, you know what I mean? Like, I think Vicus was incredibly ambitious. Because after the success of Volton, and a lot of the people that quit Lost Ark came back just to like give the game another chance. Like the entire game changed when Volton was introduced because the concept of Legion raids did not exist prior to this, right? They were really ambitious with Vicus because they wanted to make something really really difficult, and they saw that people were bussing the crap out of Volton, so they installed so many mechanics in this raid that wipes the party and punishing people because they wanted to deter people from bus running and selling buses like they were doing with Volton. That's why in Gate 1 there's so many checks where if one person's dead, it's a wipe, right? Because they don't want people to bus. But people are still busing it. So they didn't really stop people from busing. They just made the raid frustrating. And when it gets to the point that it's now homework, having something to do for something frustrating 6 times a week, it's kind of, it's not fun, right? Vicus is fun when it's smooth, but it's also designed in a way that induces frustration. You'll see what I mean. Like once you start doing that raid a lot, you'll get into parties where you're like, oh man, I just want to get out of there. You know what I mean? Volton never felt like homework? No, Volton is always fun. Honestly, like Volton, I mean, it's a very straightforward, simple raid. You know, these raids get increasingly more complex. Like Broshaza is a prime example. 6 gates, 6 bosses. You know, it's crazy. Like Broshaza herself has like 30, 40 different types of attacks and different patterns and variations and mechanics in her raid. Like it's insane, right? Like Volton is so much more simple, but yet because the concept itself was very well done, up until this day, it's still one of the most fun raids. Like when people talk about Lost Ark, they talk about Volton and their experience in Volton. You know, there are, you know, I'm sure some people have been in Volton jails. And honestly speaking, this raid can be done by one person. If there's one person in the raid that absolutely knows every mechanic, even if they're under-leveled, they can do the whole thing. Like I have finished Volton by myself on a Bard multiple times. The Bard does no damage. I was able to finish it multiple times with everyone else dead. Right? Like if you know the mechanics, you can do it. But when people talk about Volton, they have a lot of fond memories because there's a lot of fun, right? It's like a mini game. You're trying to survive. You're trying to not get knocked off, right? No matter how high level you are, you're on the wrong spot at the wrong time. You get knocked off, right? That's what makes the game. That's what makes this raid fun, right? Yeah, it's just very well done, very well thought out. The Vike is like. There's just so many mechanics that it's just so punishing, you know? And a lot of times, like, these are things that you can't even control because it's not you messing up, it's one of the 8 people messing up, and it's gone and it's done. You have to start over. And there were just so many of those little things that it kind of. And then right at the end, when she's about to die, after all that work you put in, you can still mess up and have to start all the way from the beginning again. Like there were just so many stupid things like that that made the raid so frustrating. You know, Cuckoo is very cool. I feel like Cuckoo Seidon generally a very fun raid, very different from everything else. And honestly speaking, I much more enjoy 4-man raids compared to 8-man. You know, 4-man raids, it's comfy because you can just grab a couple friends, a couple guildies, and just go in and have fun, you know. It's a lot more difficult putting together 8 people, especially on a static group, because people's schedules, you know, trying to get 4 people on the same schedule is really difficult. Trying to get 8 people, like sometimes it's quite a nightmare logistically. I think the most challenging part about Cuckoo, Game 3 specifically, is just learning how to not get hit by saws and hooks. You know, and the best way to learn how to not get hit by saws and hooks is to get hit by the saws and hooks multiple times, right? Once you get hooked to the point where you develop PTSD, once you get instantly killed by the saws in every which way possible, you kind of know how to avoid it. Honestly, that's just the best way to learn it. Because I can draw all the diagrams to show you how to avoid the saws, but quite frankly, like, when you have to do it yourself, those diagrams become a blank. You know, you have to develop the muscle memory, right? There's a very specific way to avoid the saws, right? You kind of have to figure it out. But one general tip I usually tell people during a prog is for saws, you want to duck under. What I mean by duck under is that like you can wait and be patient about it, but let the saw pass you and just go underneath it. It's a lot safer compared to trying to like run through it as fast as you can. That time, like when you run through saws as fast as you can, it gets kind of dangerous. Yeah, that's why saws on the bottom are kind of usually everyone avoids the saws by going through the bottom route. Hooks are the opposite though. Hooks, the bottom's kind of dangerous. Not that you can't do it, a lot of people do. But when you run up on the hooks, it is generally much more straightforward because once you dodge the very first hook, it's just a straight line, right? You gotta try it yourself, but the idea is that the most dangerous hook is the first hook. So once you dodge it, it's just a straight line. Whereas saws, you know, you just try and duck underneath. But at the end of the day, you have to develop it yourself. That's what progging is for. Progging parties give you a chance to reset over and over and over by design, right? Re-clear parties don't want to prog, and that's why people get so upset when people that aren't finished progging, they join re-clear parties, because when people put re-clear in the lobby title, it means they don't want to reset. They just want to finish it, right? So they assume that you've progged to the point where you can finish it in 1 or 2 tries, right? Yeah, mistakes happen, but that's also why Vicus became so frustrating, is because it's such a complicated raid for new players, and there's so many reset points and mistakes, little mistakes that can happen that can wipe all your progress to start from the beginning. You know what I mean? In my prog group for Kakul, we went through hell, and then when we failed bingo, we had to redo everything. That's not unusual. I think my static group, it took us about 10-15 hours to finish like fully progging up to the point of getting to bingo. And then after that, we kept wiping in bingo because we had no idea what to do. It took us another couple hours in bingo while trying to get to that point to actually figure it out. And then, honestly, the most simple system that people use is just to use the website, right? Because the website will tell you exactly where to put it. So people just pull it up on their phone, put it on the second monitor, whatever you need to do, and just open the website and let the website tell you where to put it. But truth be told, like, the logic behind it is very simple, right? Every 3 bombs, you want to connect 5. Because that's when the giant bomb explodes and you need to shield. Every 3 bombs. And by connecting 5, you get a shield. Right? The concept itself is very straightforward. But it takes time to understand, like develop that intuition of where to put the bomb without guidance from a website or something. You know? Going into M3, he stacks on Fire Clown. Clown dies or he blocks man. So many things have to go right. Yeah. Yeah. There are so many things. You could turn into a clown too early, and then by the time the portal won't open, and by the time your clown transformation expires, you didn't even go in. You know, or You did it properly. You're standing in the middle. You get hooked, and then GG's. You're getting dragged all the way across the screen. You can't even enter the portal. There's so many things that can happen. You know, Clown can just jump and knock you over away from the portal while you're trying to go in. Or you could successfully go in, but you forgot to heal yourself and you end up with basically no HP. So anything that even like raids on you, you're dead inside the Mario, right? Like there's so many things that can happen. You just, that's why it takes time to prog it. Like you gotta make all those mistakes, because once you make them, you see it, you feel it, you understand it. You have to develop that muscle memory, you know, because Lost Ark, it's a very fast game, you know. You can't always spend time doing critical thinking, trying to figure out what to do. So you just gotta develop the intuition to make these like split-second decisions, and that all just comes from, well, experience, right? Experience is actually the most important thing in this game, right? You guys seen like Saint Tone and his group, right? They did the entire Clown Circus raid with no engravings. You can do it, you know, it's possible. So why the heck are everybody gatekeeping the hell out of each other? You know, you have to be like super high level, you have to have full gems, you have to have 5x3, you have to everything. Well, because the more damage you do, the less mechanics you have to do. That means you don't need as much skill. And the problem is, like, skill's not the issue, it's experience, right? It's very difficult to evaluate skill, but experience, even if you're a less skilled player, if you have experience, that can probably carry you through the raid a lot more, right? Most important thing when you add somebody to a party, actually experience is the most important thing that determines the success of the raid. But the thing is, you can't gatekeep by experience because you can't measure it. You can't measure it. Like there's no tool that tell you, oh my god, this guy has done Volton like 1,000 times on his account. But even if you can see that number, who's to say that 1,000 times, 900 of them aren't bus runs, of them buying buses, right? Like you don't know, right? So that's why people are gatekeeping these other cheesy ways. You know, they're just lazy gatekeeping. They just want to outdamage everything so that you don't even have to worry about skill or experience or mechanics just by blowing through everything. You know, that's the wrong way. That's what pugs do, because they're lazy. And that's also why I say, like, don't pug, right? Play with people, get friends, get people to play with, the same people every week. It doesn't have to be the same people every week, but get people to play with that you recognize, that you can play with over and over, because you know their skill level, you know their experience level. It's not random, because when you add people through a party finder, it's completely random. You don't know. You don't know their experience level, you don't know their skill level, you don't know anything about them other than the fact that they have X roster level and they have certain engraving and gems, right? But that's a very superficial way to evaluate someone. Because I've been in parties with people super high roster level, completely clueless. I've also been in parties with people crazy level 10 gems, do no damage. Crazy level 10 gems, 5x3, everything, no damage. It's because at the end of the day, it's not about how much gems you have, right? Uptime is everything in this game, right? You know, if you're not attacking, you don't do any damage. but to attack, you have to be properly positioned, and you have to understand the timings, the windows, the cooldowns, the animations. You don't know that, right? You don't know that. You can't evaluate that on the party finder screen, whether someone knows animations or not. Right? But you're susceptible to that when you're pugging because you don't know those people, right? So when you have to play with those people every single week, well, it could be really good. I'm not saying pugs aren't good. Sometimes pugs are really good. Sometimes pugs are really bad. But the point is, you're subjected to all the randomness when all you do is pug. And when you have to do it, like, most people have 6 gold earners, right? 3 raids per character, 18 raids. That's a lot of pugging to do. Right? That's a lot of pugging to do. You have to pug 18 raids a week. And a lot of people do that. They don't play with friends, they don't play with guildmates, they just pug. And they're frustrated, they're upset, and they're wondering why this game sucks. Well, I mean, I pug too, and honestly, some of the most fun I have is when I don't pug in this game. Because pugging sucks. Pugging sucks so much. This game's not made for pugging. But because there's so many raids to do, sometimes it's not a choice. You just can't. It's hard to get together with friends sometimes. Everyone's schedules are different, they're always changing. Right? It is what it is. Read the damage in Broken 4? I mean, we didn't bring you in there to do damage, right? We brought you in there to learn it, to get your first taste of it, to experience it. Because I feel like there's multiple steps to pugging, right? The first step is you gotta go in and you gotta like understand the major mechanics. Because once you understand the major mechanics, the raid can be cleared. That's step 1. Just getting up to that point usually takes, you know, depending on the raid, could take 1, 2, 3, 4 hours. But once you've pugged the major mechanics, you have to pug the minor mechanics. Right? It's the minor mechanics, all the attack patterns. And not just the attack patterns. Why do we need to know attack patterns? Well, when you know attack patterns, you get hit less. You get hit less, you use less potions. You're also on the floor less, which means you have more time to attack. Right? Once you know the normal patterns, you're properly positioned, especially on a class like an entropy class, like Slayer, where you have to be directly behind the boss to do the most damage. Learning the positioning can take a while, but once you learn it, your damage will go up a lot. Dude, Lordman, subscribe with a tier 1. Thank you. Appreciate it, bro. Where's the music for a sec? Thank you, good sir. Appreciate you. Here's Ben. Makoku credit. Oh yeah. Yeah, true. And thanks for the support, really appreciate you. But yeah, like, me personally, like, this past 2 weeks, we've been progging Akan, right? And for Akan, I'm still at the point where I'm just still developing competency to the major patterns, just so that we can clear, right? Because honestly, like, clearing that raid 5 times now, I think we got the gist of it, but sometimes the run is still unsuccessful. Sometimes. And it's mostly because people are still trying to figure things out with the major mechanics. But we're starting to transition to the point where we're learning the normal patterns and the minor mechanics. And that's when everybody starts doing more and more and more damage. Right? Because once you learn those patterns and your uptime improves, the damage of the raid improves, and people's skill and level of competency and experience improve, the raid becomes so much more smooth, right? To the point where, like, we're able to do so much more damage in less time. And because of that, we're seeing less mechanics. Because when you do more damage, you spend less time fighting the boss, you see less mechanics, right? When you see less mechanics, the raids become more smooth. So it's all correlated. You know, for me, I'm plugging Akan. For you, you're plugging Brashaza. It's the same, right? No matter what raid, I feel like it's very relatable. Thanks for the streams. Yeah, appreciate it, man. I really appreciate your support. It's a very small stream. Like, the channel grows really slowly. I'll be honest with you, right? Like, back when global version came out, I think I had 120 followers, right? And that was with me streaming like a year and a half, almost a year and a half, yeah. And now we're at like, what, 260 followers after global version came out, right? It's a very small, like, it's been about a year and a half now, since August, February. Not this February, last February. Yeah, I gained about 100 followers since then. You know, the average viewership went up from like 5 people to like almost 10 people, you know. But the game population hasn't gone up that much. In fact, it's gone down. The interest level in the game has gone down quite a bit. But hopefully, you know, some people will come back. Gold River is trying to make it happen, you know, trying to make the game more fun, more welcoming for new players and returning players, and hopefully it will make an impact on our version as well, you know. Yeah, they're definitely doing things now, so just hope it's not too late, you know. There is a lot of good games out there, you know. There's a lot of good games out there. It's getting more and more competitive. But honestly speaking, like, I've been playing Lost Ark for 3 years. I couldn't find anything else I'd rather play 3 years ago. And right now, it's still true. I don't know if there's anything else I'd rather play. You know what I mean? Like, there are new shiny toys. You go play it, you go try it. You spend a couple days on it, a couple weeks even. You always come back. Cause, like, honestly, like, there's nothing else I'd rather play. It's just what it is.